Welcome back to the Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday special and to our second recipe, which is our chicken etouffee. When I first show you when we made the roux our roux, we took it out at a color of, we cooked it to a color of natural peanut butter. Natural or creamy peanut butter. And what I have done is I took out what I needed from it, and then I returned the rest of the roux to the pot, and I cooked it to the color of milk chocolate, which is what I have here. Then I have taken right here a half of a cup of it. We're going to make an enrichment with our roux and our tomato paste that I have here. I'm going to pour 3/4 of a cup into our 4 tablespoons of roasted tomato paste, and we're going to give this a mix. I'm going to stir. It's going to make our enrichment. And I have 3/4 of a cup of chicken stock here. I have the remaining 3 cups of chicken stock in there. We're going to add that later. This is going to add before that. And then once we get the tomato paste dissolved in here, we're going to add our roux and whisk it again. It's going to be thick. But it's important here that we're dissolving it in some liquid so it's easier to add to our recipe. Okay. It's going to get even thicker. Now we're going to add our roux, which is a half of a cup of milk chocolate roux. You could use it at that other color, but cooking it longer, you get more flavor out of it. Looks like milk chocolate, or you also might call it a caramel color. Okay. Okay. There's our enrichment. That's our enrichment. The other flavorings are going to include our spice blend. We have crystal hot sauce, key ingredient here. Lean Parmesan Worcestershire sauce, white wine, and the chicken stock we talked about. And we're also going to be using our Holy Trinity again, that we have cut up and ready to go. And we will proceed with that. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on our burner, and I have in here a tablespoon of chicken fat. We're going to start browning our chicken. If you can't fit all the chicken into one layer into the pot, then you can do it in 2 layers. Just letting it heat up, and then we're going to start adding our chicken. It's important whenever you're doing any browning to preheat the pan with the fat. If you're using a smaller pot, it's going to be going to have to do it in 2 batches. If this doesn't fit, we'll do this in 2 batches. This is chicken thighs, about excuse my cough, close to 2 pounds worth of chicken thighs. It was 1 package that I cut up into chunks, and as you can see, it is not trimmed. We want that extra fat in here so that it will render out and we'll have more fat to cook our vegetables. Because you can always spoon it off later on in the recipe. When you're finishing the recipe, you can spoon it off. It just adds nice flavor. So we're going to start putting our chicken in here. Make sure it's in 1 layer. And I cleaned out the big pot, and we're doing it in the same enamel cast iron pot. I think we're going to be able to get this in one layer. Okay. And you could, just like the roux, you could just use some vegetable oil here. Okay. Looks like we'll probably get shrimp. Take a spot. We're going to get it all in here. If you're doing a double batch, then just do it in batches. And I think it's very important to do it in the pot that it's going to cook in, not to do it, let's say, to use a skillet to do the browning. You want all the fond to generate and be as part of the recipe. Put the light there so you can see inside the skillet. And I have it over high heat right now because we want to get this well browned. That is the goal in this recipe, to get the chicken well browned. And then once the chicken is browned, we're going to pull it out because we're going to cook our vegetables in here next. Start to move it around, and then we'll get it into another single layer here. It's going to remain over high heat here because you really want to render out the fat and get a good browning on it. If you put too much chicken in here, as you can see, there's a little bit of space in between each one. If there's too much chicken in this pot, what's going to happen is it's going to steam, and then lots of liquid's going to come out, and it's going to boil all over, and it's not going to be pleasant. So it's best and very important to make sure that you have even space and all in one single layer so you get that nice browning. The sizzling is going down just a little bit, but that's fine. It's going to go back up again. I'm not worried about it. You just have to take it slow. We want it well browned on all sides. That gives that good flavor. Make sure the heat stays on high heat. Give it another stir. Don't worry about anything stuck on the bottom of the pot. That's all going to be part of the fond in this recipe. For shrimp étouffée, you would not be cooking the shrimp in the pot. The shrimp will go in towards the end. If you're doing shrimp étouffée, they're going to go in towards the end because they take about 5 minutes to cook. Chicken étouffée, sausage étouffée, duck étouffée. You can also do an étouffée. You could do an étouffée and leave the meat in whole pieces with the bones if you want it, but this is the best way to do it, is to have it in chunks. Because it's going to be a gravy which we're going to smother over rice. And after the chicken was diced, I just seasoned it with sea salt. It's important to season it with just salt. You don't want to put any seasoning on it, because if you put any seasoning on it, that seasoning could potentially burn in the pan. Sometimes you do. For some recipes you may put seasoning, but for this, you don't want any seasoning on it. Still waiting to get some good browning, and then we'll pull it out. Just takes time, but it's easy to do. And a word on chicken. When you're dealing with your chicken, if you open up your package of chicken and there is any sort of a smell, that means the chicken has gone south and it is soured, and you can't use it. So just be wary of your chicken. If it smells strange, because it shouldn't have any smell, except for that faint raw chickeny smell. But it should not have any strong smell. You don't want to use it if it's got a smell. When in doubt, throw out, as we all say in the industry. Okay. So we're getting nice rendered fat out of here. And we're getting some beginnings of some nice browning. This recipe you could also do in a heavy saute pan, would be fine. Just make sure it's big enough to hold all the ingredients, because you're going to be generating a nice sauce with this, a gravy. And that's important because étouffée means smothered. It's a French word that means smothered. And it's delicious and wonderful. Okay. This is looking about almost there. Almost. We're almost there. This chicken is just about browned. When we come back, I'm going to finish this browning. I'm going to pull it out, and when we come back, we're going to build the sauce. We are back with our chicken étouffée, and we're now going to put our vegetables. I pulled out our chicken. Now we're going to add our holy trinity, which is one onion, small onion that's been cut into fine dice. I have one rib of celery that's been finely diced, and 1/2 of a seeded green bell pepper finely diced, and 4 garlic cloves that have been thinly sliced. We'll put that all in here. Give it a good stir, and then we're going to also hit it with our spice blend. Give the spice blend a good stir. Okay. Now we're going to turn it down and let it cook. I'm going to pull out the little piece of onion here that just wasn't cut up. This is important, this step here. You really have to watch your pot. We put the spice blend in here. We don't want to burn everything in here. What I'm going to do, we're going to add to assist in our process. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of water into the pan here. And this water is going to protect everything in here. Now I'm going to turn the heat back up to high. And the water is going to help tenderize everything. But we're going to cook this until the water is gone. That is very important, because we don't want any of that water left over before the next step. And we want to get some brown color on this, but we also want to protect during the cooking process. So the water will help to tenderize the vegetables, and by the time the water is gone, we We're going to let it brown and then proceed. The water just slows the pot down. You could just turn it down low and just take it longer, but the water will speed the process. Bring the light closer so you can see inside the pot. It smells lovely. It's got a nice aroma from the spices, the celery seed, and all the herbs that we used. Gives it such a wonderful flavor. And we put the spice mixture in with the onions, carrot, celery, and green bell peppers and garlic so that it can bloom. It's very important that the spices bloom. And they bloom in that hot fat. That's why we didn't add the water right away. You want to make sure the spices contact the hot fat. And I'm looking in here and I can see that the water is almost all gone. When the water is gone, we can build a little fond on the bottom and get some color on our vegetables. Also going to add some salt at this point. Which will draw out some more of the water and juices from the vegetables, which is very important. It speeds the process up. And you want to add salt during the cooking process at different stages of the cooking process. That is very important. If you just put all the salt in at the end, then the salt hasn't had a chance to interact with the ingredients and bring out flavors. It may be okay, but it's not going to have the same good flavor, well-developed flavor as some of the salt will have reduced with everything, so that you'll get some concentrated flavors. I'm going to bring the light in for you to see. All the water is gone now and everything is starting to get a little color, which is what we want. It's all flavor in here, folks, and that's the goal. But you want to be careful at this point that we do not burn. I'm going to measure out our white wine, which is going to be half a cup. I like dry vermouth, but any dry white wine would be fine. Do not use anything labeled cooking wine. Cooking wine is not work in this recipe, or any recipe. If you can't drink the wine, don't cook with the wine. Now I'm going to bring the light in here so you can see this. Okay. We're getting some fond development on the bottom. We are now ready to go proceed with the next step. We're going to add the wine. And we're going to let the wine reduce. It needs to reduce down by 3/4 so there's just a little bit of liquid left so that we concentrate that flavor. That's going to give us a little bit of acidity in our recipe. We're then going to add our mixture that we made with our roux and our roasted tomato paste and part of our chicken stock first. We're going to put this mixture in, and then we're going to let this mixture cook and thicken, and then we're going to add our chicken stock, our Lea & Perrins, and our Crystal hot sauce, which is the important ingredient in this recipe. Got the best flavor. We're almost. Okay. When you follow these steps, the little steps of reducing the wine and making sure the vegetables cook a certain amount of time, it builds flavor. Just dump everything in the pot. it may taste okay, but you haven't built any flavors. You want to build flavors in the pot. You can bring the light in again. That's what you want to see. Beautiful, reduced wine. So now we're going to scrape in our roux and tomato mixture. Scrape it all in. And now stir. And stir and stir. And get it worked in here. The pot will slow down a little bit. And we're going to let this cook for a couple minutes here. I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes. I'm going to cook this for 3 minutes, stirring the entire time. This is going to build flavors. But it's important that we keep stirring. Use a good wooden spoon here. And just keep stirring. I will bring in the light so you can see what's going on here. This is developing flavor. But it's important that you keep stirring, because if you stop stirring, it'll burn on the bottom. And we don't want it to burn, we just want the flavors to concentrate. It's very thick at this point. That's why you do not want to walk away. If you have to walk away, it's not good to walk. If you have to walk away, then just start the next step by adding chicken stock. But if you can handle it, it needs to be stirred for 3 minutes, which concentrates all those flavors. And if you're stirring it the entire time, it won't have a chance to burn. Gotta use a good pot too. This enamel cast iron pot works wonders. We're gonna add another dose of salt at this point. And also we're using low sodium chicken broth. That's very important so we can adjust the salt. You don't need to use, I wouldn't suggest for these recipes to use an unsalted chicken stock or chicken broth, because then it's not going to be as perky of a flavor. So just find low sodium, it works for these recipes. But for some other recipes like risotto, unsalted is best, and that because you're going to put lots of salty ingredients in like cheese, different things. But for these Louisiana recipes, just use low sodium and it works out. Okay. That's 3 minutes of time. Now we're going to slowly stir in chicken stock. Get it well blended here. And we're going to stir in here 4 tablespoons of Crystal hot sauce. We already have all the peppercorns, the green, white, and the black peppercorns. So we'll put 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to put in the last dose of salt at this point, and about 2 teaspoons of Lea & Perrins Worcestershire sauce. You can always adjust. If If you don't want it to be as spicy, or you want it to be more spicy, then adjust. I would stick with the max of 4 tablespoons of hot sauce at this point, and then later add more if need be. Now I'm going to grab our chicken. We're going to add our chicken and any accumulated juices. Okay, excellent. Now, this needs to come to a full rolling boil, and then we're going to turn it down to a simmer and let it cook. Let it simmer for 30 minutes. It's important that it comes to that full boil. If you just turn it down right now, it will not have had a chance to come to a full rolling boil. Later, we're going to add a couple more ingredients. We're going to put scallions and parsley in here and serve some on top. We're also going to put in some lemon juice. We will adjust with the salt, and we will also adjust with the hot sauce. And we're going to put some fresh ground black pepper in at the end. I'm actually going to taste for salt level at this point. And I'm definitely going to put more crystal hot sauce, but I'm actually going to go ahead right now. I'm going to go with 6 tablespoons. Not 4, 6. Because it needs that bit of... Yep. So go with 6 tablespoons if you can handle the spice. And then we'll probably put another tablespoon in at the end. So right now we're going to let this cook. Once it comes to a boil, we're going to drop it to a simmer, and it's going to cook for about 30 minutes. Or until the piece of chicken registers 160 degrees, 165 degrees. But it's important to stir it every so often, not to walk away from it. Keep an eye on it because it is fairly thick. And if it's getting too thick, you can always add just a little bit of water. And always know if you're going to put a little water in there, add a little salt along with it, so that you don't dilute the flavor that you've created. Once this hits a boil, we're going to turn it down, but it's just going to take a while. Just takes a little while to hit to a boil, and I'll put the light in front so you can see what's going on in here. Starting to see bubbles. When it's bubbling all the way across the surface evenly, that's when we're going to turn it down. You don't want to turn it down at the first moment of bubbling. You want to turn it down when the entire pot is boiling. And then that will be turned down. And for the plating on this one, I'm going to show you a different way of plating this dish. Instead of using the deep bowl, I'm going to show you the other fancier way of plating it up with the rice in the middle, which that plating will also work for doing your jambalaya. It can be plated that way as well. And we'll show that later. But it's still, we're going to serve it with the spoon, which I think is the best way to eat it. Because it's this real saucy and gravy-like consistency, it's best with a spoon. And if you want a hunk of bread on the side, it's always a good idea. Bring the light in here. See, we're about there. And once it gets lowered down, because this is a heavy pot, it's going to stay heavily boiling for a couple of minutes while it goes down. So, as you can see, let's bring the light in here so you can see that that's what I mean. It's boiling all over, which is important. And we're going to turn it down to low. Not ultra low, but the medium low. Notch number 2. And then we'll set our timer for 30 minutes and let it simmer for 30 minutes. And the good thing about this recipe, being that we made dark roux, all the floury taste has been cooked out of the roux. So you don't have to worry about the taste of uncooked flour. It's just important to keep stirring often. Okay, set our timer for 30 minutes, and we'll be back in 30 minutes. And I'll show you how to finish. Welcome back to In Joe's Kitchen and our Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday special. And we're finishing our second recipe, which is our chicken étouffée. I'm going to pull it in here and let you see it. It's beautiful. It's cooked down to a nice consistency. We are now going to taste it for seasoning and start the process of finishing. A little salt, some fresh pepper at the end, a hefty dose here actually. And I still have it on low heat, which is important. You don't want to let it burn. We're also going to put in another tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of Crystal hot sauce. If you don't want it that spicy, then just leave it as is, but I like that taste. So we're going to go there. Now to counteract the richness here, I have lemon. I'm going to squeeze lemon in here. I'm going to put half a lemon in here. And I think that might be enough because this was a big lemon. The lemon's just going to perk everything up and give an acidic element to this. Make sure it's well blended. Now we'll give it a taste. Needs just a little more lemon. Okay. Next, we're going to put in parsley. We're going to put in about half of what I have chopped here and half of our scallions. And we're going to leave the rest for chopping. I'm also going to turn the burner off now. Give it a good stir. Stir it in. And this is your étouffée. Beautiful chicken étouffée. And when we come back, we're going to be at the counter and I will show you how to serve. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to our Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday special. And here's the rice. I've taken this ramekin. This is a mini souffle ramekin. And I gave it a little spritz with a pan coating, non-stick pan coating. And I've packed the rice in here. And now we're going to put it in the middle of our bowl. We're going to use these pasta bowls here. Now, very important at this point, don't remove the bowl. We're going to leave it in there. And then we're going to ladle our étouffée around the side. Okay. I'm going to grab a towel to wipe the plate. Okay. It's important here. Presentation is key. But it's very important that you don't take away the piece of foam. Now, we're going to lift it off carefully. It's going to be hot when you do so. When it comes off, just give it a little, tilt the plate a little bit, and then you'll get that little bit of beautiful. It lifts right off. Now we need to garnish it with some parsley around the plate, like so, and a few scallions. And just like I said before, if you want extra hot sauce, serve it on the side, serve it at the table. Also, I'd like to mention about the rice. The scallion rice can also be prepared with plain water. If you don't have any extra chicken stock. I had extra chicken stock, so I made it with chicken stock, but if you're going to make it with plain water, it's the same recipe. Just put the plain water, a pint of water, into the saucepan and bring it to a simmer and put a good pinch of salt in there. I'm also going to put a few more scallions on top here, just because they look pretty. And that's your beautiful chicken étouffée. Goes wonderful with an ice cold beer, or make hurricanes, or even a Sazerac. Good New Orleans cocktails are delicious. And that is our beautiful New Orleans food today, our beautiful Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday special. And as they say in New Orleans, bon temps roulé, let the good times roll. Cheers.